Hey everybody, and welcome back to FSi DFS. I'm McKinley412. Looking at the 10-game main slate here. Pitching, kind of ugly. So on opening day, back in March, you get all the aces of the teams going. It's amazing for pitching. But then by day 4, day 5, you get to the back of the rotation, and it gets kind of ugly. A similar thing happens with the All-Star game. You get that long break for the teams. Their aces get rested. They can go again pretty quickly. And then by day 4, which we're at right now, we kind of get to the back of the lineups and, things get kind of ugly. So there's going to be a lot of great offensive spots today. Not a whole lot of pitching to like, but there are some guys that I do have a lot of interest in. So let's just kind of go through it all. McClanahan up at the top, 11.6K. I just don't have any interest in this at all. He's coming off the 15-day IL. I already don't like playing pitchers coming off the IL. He hasn't had any rehab starts. I really have no idea how deep he's going to go into the game. He might only get 70, 80 pitches. He's got a tough matchup against Texas on the road in Texas, 11.6K price tag. I just don't see any way that you can get to this guy in your builds today. Logan Webb, another tough matchup on the road against Cincinnati. Pay attention to the weather in this game. Looks like there could be a little bit of a rain threat. Logan Webb, he had a phenomenal start, or past 2 starts heading into the All-Star break, but he faced off against Colorado and Seattle, both at home in his pitcher-friendly ballpark against 2 of the top strikeout teams in the league. It's the complete reversal. Now he's in the worst pitcher's park outside of Coors, and he's facing an amazing young offense in Cincinnati. He's a ground ball pitcher, so the ballpark factor isn't as detrimental to him here. But still, I think at 10.8K, it's just a little bit too high for me, given the matchup, given everything that is involved. He's still in my player pool if you're going to be building 20-plus lineups. But other than that, I don't have a whole lot of interest. I would much rather go to guys like Luzardo, Gilbert, or Gray. Luzardo and Gilbert, those are my 1-2 in terms of this higher salary tier that I'm going to have interest in. Gilbert's got a great matchup going up against Minnesota. Minnesota's the number 1 strikeout team in the majors, so obviously going to have interest in pitchers in that regard. And Luzardo has just been on fire. He's definitely figured out the control issues that he was having earlier on in the season. His K rate is up tremendously. He's just providing an excellent floor. Now he's going up against St. Louis, and we've kind of seen it from St. Louis all season long. Their offense, it's solid, but man, they can throw up some duds. On paper, this team should be doing much better. It's really their pitching that's kind of been impacting them this season, but still, the offense has thrown some duds many times here and there in solid spots. You can see he just faced St. Louis earlier on in the month, 93 pitches, 28 DK points. Would not shock me if he was able to muster up 25 to 30 DK points once again in this matchup. Gray, he's facing off against Seattle. He's not as, I'm not as confident in him as I am with Luzardo and Gilbert, but I do think that he can provide you with some of the upside. And so I do put him on a similar category in terms of of Logan Webb. Logan Webb provides a better floor, but I do think with the what are we saving? $1,200 with Gray, and the better matchup going up against Seattle. They're another high strikeout team. I'm going to have more interest in Sonny Gray than I am with Logan Webb. So that kind of runs out the top of the order here, or top of the salary. Gilbert, Luzardo, Gray, Webb, McClanahan. Honestly, McClanahan's should be in the no interest category. I just don't have a whole. I just can't pay nearly $12,000 for a guy who's going to go 75 pitches against the best offense in the league. I just can't do it. So let's go right down in the mid tier. Cleveland. Looks like it's going to be a bullpen game for Cleveland. Nope. Just hard pass. Not paying $9K for a bullpen arm. Grayson Rodriguez. This is one of the more intriguing spots on the entire slate. So Rodriguez, we know he very highly rated prospect. Extremely highly rated pitching prospect. But his major league stint earlier on this season was a train wreck, to say the least. You can kind of just look at the numbers here on the screen. But so they sent him back down to the minors, but he did really well when he went back down to the minors. I'm just looking through here. He went 10 starts. Nope, not. He went 37 innings, 1.69 ERA in AAA. The K rate was back up. So which Rodriguez is going to show up? Is it top prospect Grayson Rodriguez, who can sustain an ERA of 1 in the minors, or is it going to be the guy who just got obliterated in 10 starts in the majors earlier on this season? I think it's going to be somewhere in between. He's not going to get, I think the time away is going to be beneficial to him. But still, going up against the Dodgers in Camden Yards is a tough matchup for any pitcher. So I do think it's going to be kind of right in the middle. But it could be a nice GPP play there. Gore, I'm going to have a lot more interest in Gore going up against the Cubs. In Wrigley, it looks like the wind's going to be blowing in here. And I like the upside with Gore. He does not provide you with much of a floor. And not really many of these mid-tier guys really do provide you with much of a floor. But I do think that the upside with Gore is there. You can see that, from time to time throughout the season, he's been able to generate great strikeout games. Chicago Cubs, they really struggle against left-handed pitching. They do strike out quite a bit. So I do think that there is some credence to that. So he's shown that like 8, 9, 11, 7, 9, 10 strikeouts. Like he has these ceiling games, and I do think that he could certainly be in play for a ceiling game here. A phenomenal GPP play, in my opinion. Smiley, no interest. Sheehan, no interest. Mikolas, again, no interest. Miami doesn't really scare me, but he just can't strike anybody out. So, Gore, Canning, Rodriguez, Sheehan, Mikolas, going on from there. In the cheap tier, Pivetta is definitely going to be the guy that I'm going to have the most interest in. Going up against Oakland, great pitcher's park, just terrible Oakland offense. I guess they're not that. Kansas City's in the running now with like just worst offense in the league. But yeah, so Pivetta, I think he's going to be a fine play at 7.3K. He's probably going to be the guy that people go down to. If you're paying below like 9K, I think people are going to be playing Pivetta over Grayson Rodriguez and Gore and Canning. So I do think that if you are going down to this lower tier, that Pivetta is going to be the guy. Wouldn't shock me if Manning sees quite a bit of ownership as well. I just mentioned that Kansas City has just a brutally awful offense at this point in time. We saw Manning shut down Toronto. We'll pat on the back here. You can go back to that video. Said he actually wasn't the worst play. Going up against Toronto could do some things. But yeah, so I mean he's going up against Kansas City in Kauffman Stadium. So yeah. Let's see. Don't really like anybody else, to be completely honest. Everybody else is kind of a fade, no interest. Dunning's kind of scrapping it. So you can kind of see I went through all the pitchers on a 10-game large slate, and it's Gilbert, Luzardo, Pivetta, and then like that's pretty much it. Like it's ugly with the pitching side of things. So let's turn towards the bats. Obviously, when you don't like a lot of the pitching at all, you're gonna have a lot of interest in the bats. Angels, Red Sox, Orioles, Dodgers, Giants, Mariners, Rays, like Detroit, Washington. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like 9 of these teams, great spots. And it's not like teams like St. Louis or Miami or whatnot are in bad spots. I just think that there's a lot of solid options here that we could be turning towards. I honestly could not decide who was going to be number one. San Francisco I put down at the bottom here just because they have so much pinch hit risk. You just never know. Like there's just so much pinch hit risk with them. I hate it as a DFS lineup builder, but it is what it is. But I do think they're in a great spot. But maybe it's just kind of like a GPP. Maybe go mini stack and hope that your guys don't get pinch hit. Dodgers I had second from the bottom here in the top tier, just because I don't know which Grayson Rodriguez is going to be showing up. Like I said, he's a top prospect. He's able to hold like a 1+ ERA in the minors, but his 10-game slate in the majors was just a time to forget for him. Baltimore's going up against Sheehan for the Dodgers. I do really like the spot for them. And then Boston and the Angels. Boston obviously going up against Oakland, and then the Angels do have that nice matchup. And I hesitated putting the Angels first because of their injury issues and everything that they do have going on. But they are going up against Severino, and Severino is just he's another kind of been train wreck here throughout the course of the entire season. You can see his past 2 starts leading the All-Star break were just ugly. But he's shown like he can still have some games. I mean, it's baseball. Like things fluctuate like crazy. So he was able to shut down Texas. But I do think that going up against the Angels, he is going to struggle quite a bit here. Angels do have a lot of those lefties that could really target Severino. You're obviously going to be talking about Ohtani. He's going to be leading off the charge. But then guys like Moniak is definitely going to be in there as well. Would not shock me if he's going to be a really popular play at 3.8K. So I do like the Angels. Do like Boston going up against Blackburn. Obviously Devers, Yoshida, Duvall. Those are going to be your first 3 guys that you would be targeting in there. But even a guy like Durant's just super like crazy hot right now. You can see he's batting .516 in his past 10 games. He's been amazing. He's been amazing. Obviously it's a little shifted to one way, but yeah, regardless, I think that Angels and Boston are going to be my 2 favorite stacks, or my 2 favorite bats on the day. Seattle going up against Sonny Gray, my favorite GPP, just because of how much Sonny Gray can struggle from time to time. And Seattle's crazy cheap. Look at the affordability on these guys. Only one guy above 4K. Everybody else extremely affordable. Tampa Bay going up against Dunning in Texas. I really don't think many people are going to be on Tampa Bay. I don't know. Maybe it's just a gut feeling, but I don't think that they're going to see too much ownership. But this is one of the best offenses in baseball, going up against a pitcher who has a low strikeout rate and can, induces a lot of contact. It's going to be hot. So Tampa Bay, very much interested. And then Detroit going up against Lynch. I'm always going to be targeting a team against Lynch. I don't care how bad your offense is. Lynch really struggles, so I'm going to have a lot of interest in Detroit. Washington is another super cheap team that you could be paying attention to. And yeah, I mean, that kind of covers everything. I'm not going too deep into the individual bats just because I haven't looked fully at the numbers yet. But yeah, this is kind of where things are at. It's going to be a heavy offensive slate, not a whole lot of interest in the pitching. And yeah, so thanks for watching. Really do appreciate it. Come back tomorrow. Mega Roar is going to have that video for you. I'll be back on Wednesday and Thursday, and then Mega Roar will take you through the weekend. So thanks for watching. As always, good luck in your contests, and we will see you in the next one.